It's just religion. It's just religion.
Hello and welcome to RS in 5 or Less for 300 seconds of inspiration. It's difficult to think of a group of people who were more despised than tax collectors in Jesus' time, because not only were they working for the enemy who had conquered and were occupying their lands, it also meant that they had a carte blanche, they had a free pass in order to extract more money than was required and to keep that extra money for themselves. This is the context in which we come to today's passage, which is the calling of Levi. We read in Mark chapter 2, verses 13 to 17. Jesus went out again beside the lake. The whole crowd gathered around him, and he taught them. As he was walking along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. As he sat at dinner in Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were also sitting with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the scribes and the Pharisees saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they said to his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard this, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." So when Jesus calls Levi, essentially inviting him to be a disciple, this says that Jesus was willing to extend the hand of fellowship to all people, not just those of a particular social group. Jesus' words to Levi of "follow me" were the words that all Jewish people, particularly Jewish boys, were hoping to hear from a particular rabbi. They would be invited to follow the rabbi, to imitate that rabbi. Not all Jewish people would be invited to follow a rabbi, but when they were, it was the words "follow me" that they were offered. Levi's reaction to immediately get up and follow Jesus must be in response to this invitation to follow a rabbi, something which he probably thought had long since passed him by. For an extension, compare Jesus' calling of Levi here with Jesus' interaction with Zacchaeus in Luke chapter 19. Levi's response to Jesus is not just one of words, but of actions. The very next line after he follows Jesus is that Jesus is eating in Levi's house. Levi invites him over for lunch. He invites his friends, who are tax collectors and sinners. Levi had up until this point presumably been associating only with people who are similar to himself. One of the most intimate social occasions in Jesus' time, as well as today, is eating with people. Breaking bread, sharing a meal, preparing that meal, discussing the meal afterwards, talking about life, hope, dreams and feelings over that meal. And it is in this context where we find Jesus in Levi's house. It seems that Jesus brought a big crowd with him, because it was difficult for him to shake them off. But he also brought his critics, the scribes and the Pharisees. These guys are fascinating because they follow Jesus around in order to criticize him. One has to ask, did they have nothing better to do? But these are the people who would ultimately get Jesus murdered. Spoiler alert, Jesus dies. Further spoiler alert, does he remain dead? And so they quiz Jesus' disciples, asking, why does he eat with these people? You can almost hear the derision in their voice. You can almost hear the way in which they despise the people that they are watching Jesus eat with. Maybe they feel unclean just by being there. The point is that Jesus' approach to people is very different from that of the Pharisees. He recognizes that the tax collectors and sinners need him, but he sets himself up as the physician for people who are sick. He sets himself up as the solution to the social problems that they face. It is not the righteous who need Jesus, but sinners. This raises the question, who are the righteous in this passage? Is it the Pharisees and scribes? Is it Levi? Is it Jesus? Is it nobody? Who are the righteous today? And for the 21st century Christian, how open is their message of inclusion, and how open is the gospel that they preach when they are talking to people who are disregarded by society? Do Christians today require people to change in order to come to Jesus, or is the message of this passage that Jesus goes to people who society has deemed unclean?